anxiety? Okay. Look. You got me thinking if it was really worth it, putting in all of this effort just to end up less than perfect. But are not great defenses something used for our protection? Or are they just another way to force out imperfections? I guess I'm just defective, pointed in the wrong direction. The library in my head is one fucked up selection. Now children pay attention, and you'll receive attention, cause after this, I'll ask you an array of questions. Alright, hey guys, ignore that coffee pot making the sound of brewing my coffee in the morning. Just ignore that. It's not here. This is the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast, episode 44. I am still awful at making intros, but we are here, we're doing it again. I hope you guys are having a lovely Friday. It is actually Wednesday for me. I'm recording this on May 6th. Right now, at the moment, since I'm back at work, schedules are all mixed up due to the still ongoing pandemic going around. So Wednesday is my only day off. I was recording the day before on Thursdays, editing, making edits to the recording for the podcast, and then uploading and setting the upload for Friday, and then it come up on Friday. So I'll record today, I'll edit tomorrow, set it up for upload tomorrow. It'll be up on Friday. So, as far as you're concerned, it's May 8th right now. But hope everyone's enjoying their Friday. Hope everyone's enjoying their weekend when we get there. And thanks for listening, whether you're listening directly on the Podbean app, where I directly upload. If you're listening on YouTube, where I've uploaded some episodes, I don't get a lot of views there at all, but I have gotten a few, so it's cool that some people are, checking in. Even if it's only a couple of minutes, hopefully we might slowly build something up on that. If you're listening on iTunes, cool. Apple Podcasts, awesome. We just recently got there. Spotify, we are also up on there, so if you're listening there, what's up? And, of course, the Art Project Facebook page, it auto-uploads to there, too. Regardless of where you're listening, thank you for listening. I appreciate it a lot. What are we going to be talking about this week? Finally, I'm going to be talking about Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. I've been meaning to talk about that anime for months now, and I just never got around to doing it. I always ran out of time on older recordings, or I got sidetracked with other things, stuff came up. It has been a few months since I've seen it. I've last watched it because it finished its season a little while back. Has it been a few months? I feel like it's been 1 or 2 months. It ended before this pandemic got real big, so it has to be like a month or two by now. But we'll be talking about that. I won't be getting too deep into it, just more of like my overall thoughts about like the main 3 characters, the overall plot, and just the main thing I wanted to talk about, focusing on Eizouken, is just like its core theme and its whole idea to embrace imagination and things of that nature, and how it really resonated with me from like episode 1. I absolutely adore that anime. Still, right now, my favorite anime of 2020. Hands down, still my favorite anime of 2020. I loved it. So we'll be talking about that. We'll also be doing our Yu Yu Hakusho retrospective for episode 17. I believe it's 17, Byakko's Lair. We'll get to that. But before we get started on all that, I wanted to do a few things of quick news. By the time this goes up, this will already be really well-known knowledge. But it's the price you pay when you got to record a little earlier. But just my overall thoughts on it still. Anyway, first off, the Dragon Ball FighterZ Ultra Instinct Goku DLC got another trailer, and it's gotten its official release date. So the trailer, it starts off with showing us a few things we got from its initial trailer reveal, and also some brand new stuff that we haven't seen yet. And Ultra Instinct Goku looks amazing. People were super skeptical about it just because, like, oh, another Goku. And look, man, I get it. It is annoying that we have, like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, if you count Goku Black, 5 Gokus. Because we got Base Goku, Super Saiyan Blue Goku, GT Goku, and Goku Black. I personally wouldn't count Goku Black. I would count him more along the lines of with Zamasu and stuff, because his moveset is so drastically different. Even with the other Gokus, like GT Goku, well, GT Goku's pretty different too, but like base, Super Saiyan, and Super Saiyan Blue, mainly Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan Blue, there are similarities to the movesets, but they do vary the characters a lot, that those can be on different tiers and used in very different ways. But I get it, it's still like, at the end of the day, it's just different Gokus. Same thing with Vegeta, we have 3 Vegetas. But for me, I kind of just expect more of the same to come. I will not be surprised if one of the next DLC characters in this season is Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. I would not be shocked at all. I know some people might be upset by that, but it's just like, dude, he's kind of a really popular character when he appeared in the anime, even though he was only there for a few episodes. But then again, the mastered Ultra Instinct form of Goku was only on Super for 1 episode. And then even the Ultra Instinct Omen form only appeared in 3 episodes. So it's just, you know, it's one of those things where like it's more of like the hype of the form. And you gotta understand, like, even though like, you know, competitive players really don't want another Goku, they want different characters. There's a lot of like casual fans, or just in general super hardcore DBZ fans, who don't care and just want all these different cool forms and characters. At the end of the day, I expected it. I was just like, there's no way they're not adding Ultra Instinct Goku to FighterZ in some way or form. I'm surprised we might, shit, I could be speaking too soon. We might get like some kind of full power Jiren announcement. The way it's looking now, I can see Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta getting added. I could see God of Destruction form Toppo getting added. And I could also see Roshi getting added, just because Master Roshi was kind of really fucking popular in the Tournament of Power. The fact that he was there was like incredible to people. Also, if they added Roshi, we would have the complete Universe 7 team in the game, right? Wouldn't we? That's everyone. Everyone is accounted for. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, 17, 18, even though she doesn't have her pink tracksuit on. Frieza. Who was I just saying? Roshi and Tien. Tien's already in the game. So, you know, we could have the whole Universe 7 team. I'd be down. Those are my predictions. I could be completely wrong, but it looks like we might get, like, a full Dragon Ball Super theme pack, just because they started out of the gates with Kefla and Master Ultra Instinct Goku, which were 2, like, major form / fusion kind of events that took place. And Broly and Gogeta from the Broly movie, the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, came out in the same DLC pack. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was just like a Dragon Ball Super themed pack. Janemba came out in season 2 too, right? Yeah, and it matches up with Gogeta. They have a ultimate finish together. Videl was there in Jiren, but they added Jiren because, come on, man, it's Jiren. But yeah, that's happening. We still don't know who the other 3 DLC characters were. I was low-key hoping that at the end of the Goku trailer, the Ultra Instinct Goku trailer, they would, like, do a little quick 10-second snippet of, like, whatever the next character was going to be. I'm so... Ooh, I keep hitting the table. I'm so hyped for it. I'm, like, ready to see who else they're gonna add to the game. I have fun with FighterZ. I'm very, very casual at FighterZ. I know, like, the controls, and I practice every now and then, work on some combos and stuff. I'm not the greatest person at fighting games in general, though, but I really like Dragon Ball as a series, so it's a fun game. If you want to know my team, it's Ultimate Gohan, because that's my boy, Android 17, and Videl. They be bodying people, man. The combos are too fierce. But the other bit of news, it was another game reveal. Mortal Kombat 11 is getting an expansion. It's not like a Combat Pack 2 where we're gonna get like 6 more characters. It's a full-on expansion apparently, and it's going to have story that actually takes place after the events of Mortal Kombat 11. So we're getting more story to the game, so more lore, and we're getting 3 new characters instead of 6. The 3 characters are Fujin, Shiva, and if you don't know those 2, it's Mortal Kombat characters from older games and previous installments and stuff like that. So 2 like older classic characters that haven't been around in a while are gonna pull up and do their thing. And then we have a third guest character. This guest character, it's RoboCop. If you haven't heard by now, it's RoboCop. They have trailers for it already, I believe. So it's wild. I believe this is also going to feature some new like stages and a few other features that are going to be added. You can already pre-purchase this. I don't think it's out yet. Hold on, I actually have my Switch right here. Let me check the eShop. I saw that you could get a collector's bundle on the Switch that came with the base game, the Combat Pass 1, I believe, and the Aftermath DLC, and it was like $60. Recent releases, yeah, it just came out. Unless Aftermath isn't available yet. But it's $60. You can get all of this for $60. So if you didn't have Mortal Kombat 11 yet, you should probably just get this whole bundle. Yeah, it comes with everything, downloadable content. Does it or does it not? I could be wrong. Mortal Kombat Collection includes... Yeah, it includes the base game, the Combat Pass 1, and the expansion. That's wild. That's actually kind of wild, especially considering Spawn just came out to wrap up the Combat Pass. So if I was the kind of person... Okay, the Aftermath Story DLC comes out May 26th. Okay, so yeah, you can buy this now, this bundle now, but the expansion doesn't come out until the 26th. So that's what it is. That's still crazy though that they're already that they dropped it. I feel like they dropped it that quick. You know, usually when something gets announced for a game, you gotta wait a little bit before like stuff comes out for it. But they're already just like, yeah, no, dude, fuck it. End of the month, it's coming. And I know the FGC, like the fighting game community, has a lot of mixed feelings about Mortal Kombat 11. Like, some people really like it. Some people are very indifferent. I'm very indifferent. It's a cool game. But that's how I've always felt about Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat, you know? And then you have the people that just fucking hate it, think it's trash. But regardless, this is definitely going to make some money. There's no way it's not. There's a lot of people who just really like the weird, crazy ridiculousness that is the Mortal Kombat storyline. So we'll see where it goes from here. But those are the two announcements I saw when I woke up. So that's about it for news. Do I have anything to recommend? No, not really. I've been rewatching Fairy Tail. I'm gonna do a whole when I finish it, I'm gonna do a whole kind of like retrospective thing of or like just one long video. Just talking about, was Fairy Tail really that bad? I don't know if it's going to be a series. I don't know if it's going to be one long podcast. I said video, one long podcast. We'll see when we get there. I'm like on episode 70, so I still have a while to go. Fairy Tail, I consider like the junk food of anime. It's like, oh god, you shouldn't be eating this trash, but it's so good. Like, that's how I feel about it. It's like a guilty pleasure for me. But is it really that bad? I'll let you know when I finish it. You know, there's a lot of hate for Fairy Tail. For very valid reasons, too. I fully agree, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And then I'm also watching Code Geass again, just because it's like 50 episodes, and I was like, fuck it, it's on Hulu, it's dubbed. Let me check it out. So I'm on season 2 currently. I'm like 4 episodes into the second season. So I'll be done with that soon. I watched the whole first season in like 2 days. I watched like 10 episodes. Yesterday I watched the rest of season 1 and like the start of season 2. And then I'll try to check out the Resurrection movies as well. And then I'm going to check out Assassination Classroom because I've been putting that off long enough and it's on Hulu. So I'm going to check it out. So anywho, let's go ahead and move on to the UU retrospective. Let's just dive right in. And it's going to be for episode 17, I think? I got to check. Yeah, it is episode 17. So we're on episode 17 of our UU retrospective, and it is Byakko's Lair. It is the second half conclusion of the Kuwabara versus Byakko fight. Last week we talked about the start of that fight where Kuwabara, was trying to flex, seemed a little nervous, We encounter Byakko. Byakko doesn't even think he's worth his time, sends the monsters, and Kuwabara proves himself using his abilities. When he relies on brute strength at first, as we see in the start of the fight, Kuwabara gets handled real easily. He can't even land a shot on these monsters because he's not skilled enough. As Hiei said, he's swinging his sword around with the grace of a fly swatter. Epic foreshadowing, by the way. And Kuwabara manages to use his head and actually think of ways to get around it, extending his sword along the bridgeway to spear through all four beasts at once, and then tying them up in like a big loop around the tower pillar, making his famous spirit sword monster beast Donut. So Byakko steps up to the ring, and where we last left off, Kuwabara has landed several shots on Byakko, and Byakko hasn't landed a blow on him yet. But Kuwabara seems to be the only one struggling. And we find that out that is due to Byakko absorbing Kuwabara's spirit energy. He's feeding off of it. This is why Byakko is like, you can't beat me if that's your best weapon. Because every slash, Byakko is just absorbing Kuwabara's spirit energy through the sword. Now, Kuwabara doesn't know what he can really do at this point. His best and most powerful tool that he's been training 6 months for to, use without having to use a conduit, it can extend, it can bend into like this circular loop and lock in place. This is his best and most versatile tool. He can't fight Byakko with his bare hands. He's not physically strong enough, and he knows this. He needs some kind of edge against him, and the spirit sword seemed to be his key to victory. It doesn't look like it's going to be working this time, champ. So Hiei, of course, slandering Kuwabara as the use case like, fuck, there's no way they can win. And Kurama's like, no, there is a way if Kuwabara can realize the weakness. And Hiei very much doubts so he can. So as Kuwabara goes in for an attack as he recharges his spirit sword, he stabs right into Byakko because he notices something. He's like, there's something weird about Byakko's energy that feels like he's going to pop, like he can't really hold it in or control it, keep it all in one place. Again, when Kuwabara's spiritual awareness is used, we see that he actually can think clearly during a fight and actually acquire some information, like some strategy, some tact to what he's doing. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, see, just rely on your powers, Kuwabara, because at the start, he just had that sword out, thought it was going to be a one-on-one clash with this big monster, and it wasn't working. So, when Kuwabara charges up his spirit sword and stabs, at first it just looks like, he's being really, gung-ho and stupid. So, Yusuke's like, yo, wait, hold up. Kurama says there's another way. Dude, chill. And Kuwabara's energy is quickly drained out of him until there's nothing left. He's juiced out, bro. Like he collapses to the ground, and his sword it just vanishes. It's extinguished. He's nearly drained of all his energy. Byakko's just like, damn, dude, if I eat any more of your energy, I'm gonna burst, bro. I'm so full. And he's just throwing Kuwabara around, kicking him around, just playing with him. And when Byakko goes for the finishing blow, which is he's gonna stop on him as Kuwabara's on the ground, kind of like helpless, he starts to shake and quiver, like his body. Sorry, I'm eating a French fry. In fact, let me turn my mic down real quick. I apologize, I got hungry. That was awkward, but Byakko starts to... Oof, I turned it up too high. Turned my mic level. I'm fucking up the whole podcast. I'm sorry. So Byakko starts shaking. He can't really control all the spirit energy being held within him. Kuwabara fed him too much. And he purposely did this because he felt that the energy in Byakko was unstable because it was too much. He was reaching its peak. Byakko couldn't hold the energy in. He starts twitching even more. And he's just confused, and Kuwabara's like, it's like my sister always says, you shouldn't eat too much in one sitting, and it's It's the first time we get a mention of Kuwabara's. I believe it's the first time we get first mention of Kuwabara's sister. I don't think she's mentioned prior to this, because she's not even seen until the next arc. The when they go rescue Yukina, and they go to his house to watch the initial videotape, Kuwabara's house. Yeah, you don't even see Shizuru until then. I love Shizuru. Shizuru is a waifu forever. She's amazing. But anyway, we're not there yet. So Byakko fucking pops. Like he literally just explodes, and the energy is just released everywhere. And then you have this shot. And a lot of season 1 of Yu Yu Hakusho, until you get to like the Yukina rescue arc, there are moments of really cool like shots, the way they angle them or have them set up, like the scene where Kuwabara and Shorin are clashing, and like Kuwabara's like dodging and blocking all of Shorin's hits. The way the camera was moving around all dynamically, I really liked that shot. The clash between Yusuke and Rando's spirit gun. We've had some cool shots, especially in the Four Saint Beast stuff. Kurama, like they've got some good like well used shots and for the art style and the animation at the time. But in season 1, you can tell they didn't quite have it yet. When you get to the Dark Tournament and onward, especially Chapter Black, there's some fucking fantastic scenes, like some just very well like animated scenes. They knew what they were doing once you get to the Dark Tournament and towards the end of season 1. But they do have their moments. This was one of them. I love the shot of the far out shot of Byakko. You can see him like his like smoking body falling off the side of the battlefield. He's just it's a really good shot. I like really like the way they did that. It's because it's just like, damn, bro, he didn't he like blew up, but his body still was intact, and he just kind of falls. So everyone's just like, holy shit, Kuwabara, you actually won. And he's like, quiet your mission, trying to gather up the fumes of Byakko's explosion to get my spirit energy back. And Kurama's like, bruh, it came back to you instantly after he blew up. Oh, whatever. So they think everything's cool, and then they hear a roar. The bridge and the platforms they're on collapse. They run and make it up to the next stairway to move on in the castle, where they hear Byakko calling to them. And they're like, what the fuck? We just saw this nigga blow up and fall off the side of this castle. And Byakko is very much alive, and they're led into Byakko's lair, which is the title of the episode. Very fucking fitting. And his lair is something. So it's if you haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho, and again, if you're listening to my retrospectives and you're not at least pre-prepared with watching the episode I'm about to do the retrospective on, dude, go watch Yu Yu Hakusho. Go watch Yu Yu Hakusho. Shoot, go watch it. But if you haven't seen it or read it before, Byakko's lair is a lava pit. It's just a big ass room with the entrance on one end where Yusuke and the team go, and on the other side, standing on one of these many platforms over the lava pit, is Byakko waiting. The lava pit is as I described. There's no other way to describe it. It is a pit of fucking lava. This room is destruction incarnate. There are platforms, like little pillars, that you can jump and stand on, but Kuwabara, test out to see if this is, legit lava. He rips off a bit of the sleeve of his school jacket, drops it down, and it incinerates before even touching the lava. So, yes, this is in fact lava that will destroy you completely. So, they're a little panicked. Byakko's alive. He doesn't look too hurt anymore, and he's ready to keep throwing down. So, Kuwabara's gonna step up to him, and Hiei's like, look, you fought admirably. He gives him his props, but Hiei tends to give Kuwabara the most backhanded compliments. Hiei can never actually compliment Kuwabara. It just goes against Hiei's pride in itself, because Kuwabara is such an oaf. So he always has to say a backhanded kind of compliment every time, and he gives Kuwabara some praise. He does respect Kuwabara for the work he put in the first half of the Byakko fight. He does respect it because he didn't expect that from him. But he still believes he's not cut out for this, especially at this point. So he has to be like, look, rest back and recover in case we do need you again. And Kuwabara's like, nah, fuck all that, bro. I have an honor code. I don't know if you understand that, but I'm not backing out of this fight. I'm not, you know, I'm winning. I'm either beating him or I'm dead. That's the only way this fight's ending. And he's just like, human with an honor code. Which I really like for Hiei's character, because now they're going to show a new side of Hiei in the next episode. And show that he, in essence, sort of has an honor code of his own, like his own rules. But him scoffing at Kuwabara's honor code is, I feel like, is more of a, like, oh, so this guy has an honor code too, like, kind of thing. It's just like, he's surprised by that response from Kuwabara, but he's not really impressed either. But it's, like I said, I think Hiei, especially by the end of the series, I think Hiei does like Kuwabara. He's just never actually going to admit the fact that he does. Never. I don't think it's his pride is too much in the way for it. I do fully believe that by the end of the series, all of them are friends. Like, Yusuke and Kuwabara are clearly best friends. Kurama likes both of them. Hiei definitely, you know, Hiei and Kurama are homies, and Hiei definitely has a lot of respect and, I would say, a little bit of admiration for Yusuke by the end of the show. And I do think Hiei does have his own form of respect for Kuwabara by the end of the show. Not yet, though. Not yet. He's just kind of pleasantly surprised by him here and then. So, Kuwabara jumps up to the first platform, and he immediately almost falls in the lava and dies. He almost slips and falls. And so we're off to a rocky start again, just like last episode. Kuwabara, you know, trying to act tough, fucking up. And he's just like, it's whatever, I'm just hot. It's just... So he throws his jacket off, shirtless. Kuwabara is like 14, 15 years old at this point. This nigga is like 6'8", like ripped to, like Kuwabara is buff as hell and like 6 feet tall, and I'm like, you're 14, and it's not like that doesn't really happen. I actually knew a couple of kids in my middle school who were like 14, 15 years old, who were like hitting 6 feet tall and were just kind of muscular as hell. It was weird. It was weird, but it's rare, but it can happen. But like, damn, bro, when you're a kid and you think back to Yu Yu Hakusho, you'll think like, oh, they're high schoolers. They're fucking middle school kids. Yusuke and Kuwabara are middle school kids. They do not look like middle school kids. But Kuwabara forms up his spirit sword. He's ready to throw down. So Byakko's like, I got a new form of attack. So then we see Byakko's signature technique, one that is extremely powerful and extremely deadly. As if Byakko wasn't already that. Byakko had a very diverse power set, now that I think about it too. The other 3 Force Saint Beasts were very straightforward. I guess Suzaku had a little bit of variety, but it all fell down to the same theme. Like Genbu, he was made of stone. He could move along the castle walls, and because they were made of stone, and anything made of stone, and his little stinger tail, and if you broke them apart, the rocks could still just attack and reattach themselves. That was Genbu. Seiryu could freeze things. That was literally it. That was his only power. He was like, haha, I'll freeze you. Haha, I'll freeze. No variety whatsoever. But I guess when your ability is just to freeze a nigga, do you... No, because Toya. Toya was way better. But then we have Suzaku, who had he could summon lightning from the sky to strike you down. His little lightning bow and arrow. Clone himself for the Prison of Seven Storm of Torment. Use the dead bodies of his clones to heal his wounds. Then clone himself again because his wounds were like, but they all fell under that same kind of lightning-ish energy-based power. Byakko had like these tiger claw things where he could shoot like these kind of like needles at you. He could turn his hair into monsters. He could absorb spirit energy. And he could do this, which is, in the dub, it's called Tiger Scream. But if you look at the official Japanese translation, it's like the howling scream, shout, or something like that. It has a way cooler name than Tiger Scream. Tiger Scream sounds like a punk-ass name, to be fairly honest with you. But, you know, it was the early 2000s. Dubs weren't, like, fucking fantastic yet. Except for Yu Hakusho. The voice actors are great. The dub name, sorry. But, he charges up his energy, he starts screaming, holds onto his throat, and just coughs out a giant energy kind of scream thing. I would say it's like the mix of him shouting and spitting up a hairball, kind of like a cat. That's how I felt like it was. So as it's coming straight towards Kuwabara's just like, dude, I'll just smack it out of the way like I did with, you know, Shuren's fireballs. Another reference to his baseball-inspired references. Another example of his baseball-inspired references. Not another reference of his references. But, yeah, Kuwabara has a lot of baseball player inspirations, like real baseball players. I forget the names exactly, but you see examples of that when he hits the fireballs back at Shuren. In the manga, as I've said in previous retrospectives, Kuwabara during the Genkai tournament actually has a baseball jersey on and not just his school uniform. So stuff like that, and he gets into a baseball stance, like a batter up kind of stance. And as the scream's getting closer, Kurama's like, "Hey, yo, don't touch that shit. Don't touch it. Move. You need to get out of the way." So Kuwabara hears that, jumps to another platform near him. As the Tiger Scream hits the platform, completely incinerates it. There's nothing left. It's not even like there's debris left. It all just disintegrates into dust. So, including Kuwabara's jacket. So he's like, "Hey, my jacket." So now everyone's a little worried because it's just like, what the fuck was that? And apparently he has heard about a warrior who could use his voice to shatter molecular bonds. I use my voice to shatter molecular bonds and make... God. I cannot speak today, but he can use his voice to shatter molecular bonds. That's pretty much what the Tiger Scream is. He literally just described it by saying that. So Yusuke's like, so he can't hit that thing back with his spirit sword, which Hiei replies, no. Hitting that with his spirit sword would cause a chain reaction that would completely destroy his spirit. So it sounds like he wouldn't even be going to spirit world. It sounds like you just be gone. So Byakko is like second to last in the hierarchy of the Four Saint Beast. Yet he has a move that can break you down through molecular bonds. He seems like he'd be stronger than Seiryu, right? And maybe he was stronger than Seiryu. I mean, Seiryu finished him off when he was weakened. But Seiryu seemed to flex like he was like the second strongest. So, you know, it seemed like he was because he was third in line. Genbu was by far the weakest. He just had a gimmick. But this is weird. You know how shonens are. But it does kind of take time for him to charge of that technique, so I guess it wouldn't be practical in a battle, like on a flat battlefield. Like, if Byakko and Kuwabara were fighting outside, like, the first part of their fight, that move wouldn't really be practical, which is why I guess he didn't do it then. But in his lair, it's perfect, because they're on these platforms and they're so far spaced out, he has plenty of time to spit those out and sling them. And he indeed does. He keeps spitting them out at Kuwabara. Kuwabara keeps jumping platform to platform to avoid them. And Kuwabara manages to survive the deadly gauntlet of Tiger Screams, only to find out that Byakko was leading him towards his end. Pretty much there are no more platforms anywhere near Kuwabara now. And Byakko's like, look, bro, you're gonna die. You can't jump to any platform. The only one you might have a chance to reach is my own. But if you get here, I'm just going to claw you in two. So the choice is yours. You make up your mind. And Byakko, once again, toys with his prey. He is definitely like kind of like this hunter-esque kind of monster. Because there's a platform left near Kuwabara. And Kuwabara's like, he forgot one. And Kuwabara slowly tries to jump towards it. And Byakko destroys it. Like immediately before Kuwabara can jump. And I'm pretty sure Byakko did that shit on purpose. He's playing with Kuwabara at this point. He he believes his victory is assured, so now he's just kind of flexing. So Kurama and Yusuke are just like, fuck, Hiei, could you reach him in time? And he is like, if need be, I guess. Like, and Kuwabara is like, fuck all that. And he jumps for it. He jumps. He leaps from his platform to try to reach Byakko's. And he gets elevation about halfway and starts immediately falling towards the lava. So it looks like this is Kuwabara's end. It looks like Byakko and Hiei were correct in thinking Kuwabara was nothing but this loser. But it's always darkest before the dawn. And a mulberry is a tree. And Kuwabara is a man. Kuwabara always manages to pull one from the jaws of defeat right when people underestimate him the most. And this is one of his first major examples of that. Kuwabara's hand charges up with spirit energy, and as Byakko is laughing, he suddenly is surprised to see Kuwabara high up in the air, soaring straight towards him. Kuwabara activated his spirit sword and extended it, using it like a pole vault to vault himself back into the air across the lair and landing where Byakko's platform was. Byakko's shocked by this. He's just like, this nigga used his spirit sword as a vault. Are you serious? And Kuwabara just lays a strong ass right hook on Byakko's jaw. Just bow! Byakko can't even defend. He's too surprised by the fact that Kuwabara is alive and actually pulled off a move that crazy. And Kuwabara's like, I'm just glad I got to hit you. Now let's go to hell together. And it looks like they both fall in the lava. So you're just like, fuck, dude, did Kuwabara just suicide himself? And we all know Kuwabara's fine. But you got to think, back then, in the old days when the manga first aired, or if you hadn't read the manga and only had... Who was hammering? Only watched the anime. That, damn, did they really just kill off Kuwabara like that? They just gave him a last hurrah and they were just like, alright, no more joke characters. And Yusuke's distraught. He's just like, dude, this is fucked up. This is not right. Who's protecting us while we're protecting the world, you know? Like, he's sad Kuwabara's gone, because it's like, dude, he didn't deserve that. He didn't even have to come. Like, Kuwabara volunteered. And then we hear our boy, the GOAT, yelling for help as he's barely managing to cling onto the platform. The cloth, the wraps that he had wrapped around his waist had loosened during the fight, and he had managed to wedge it between the edge of the platform Byakko was standing on. So he managed to barely hang on as Byakko fell into the lava. So the team gets over to his platform. They're just like, hey, Kuwabara, that was a pretty smart move. And he even remarks like, maybe we should, lure the other two Saint Beasts here so you could just pull that shit off twice. two more times. And Kuwabara's just like, no. I did my part today. Help me up. I'm done. I did my part. He did indeed do his part. And they're just joking around. Even Kurama's joking with him. Because Yusuke's like, you did say you wanted to do this by yourself. Yeah, you had your honor code. And he's like, dude, the fight's over. Just help me up. So we get a very lighthearted conclusion to this fight. This deadly fight. 2 parts. And that's kind of how like all of Kuwabara's fights end. I'd say the only part that doesn't have like kind of like a warm-hearted feeling to it. The only Kuwabara fight that doesn't have like a warm-hearted like happy ending feeling to it is when he fights Elder Chigoro, because the tournament's not over yet. I mean, even though the Four Saint Beast stuff isn't over yet, but it was coming off of that major reveal of Kuwabara finding out about Genkai's passing and things like that. But Kuwabara usually has like very positive conclusions to his fights, win or lose. Whether it be like very comical if he loses, he's still up to fight if he loses, like the fight with Rinku, like the comical fights, like I was saying, when he fucking completely embarrasses himself in the semifinals of the Dark Tournament. It's usually more of these like, damn, alright Kuwabara, I feel it. Yeah, one of those things. And that's why he's my favorite character. He feels really like he's the closest to a real person in my opinion. Yusuke is too, but I feel like Yusuke's reactions to demons initially, especially, and just how gung-ho he is in general, is a little too fantasy for me, which isn't a bad thing. It's an anime. It's fantasy. But Kuwabara feels like the most relatable character to me in the story. And I think that works to his benefit because he is the heart of the team. So it makes sense that he be the most relatable to the story. But that ends the second Saint Beast fight. So the next week they're doing episode 18, which is Seiryu the Blue Dragon. That fight is the shortest fight in the arc because Hiei crushes it, as Hiei always does. But it was a stomp, so that might just be like a short talk. I might end up at the very least going into more of Hiei's character, but talking about that fight is so straightforward. There's not a lot of detail because it's not a bad fight. It's just the fact that Seiryu was so outmatched by Hiei. Like, that was the most mismatched fight in the arc. It was just like, damn, dude, he crushed you. But that ends Kuwabara's well, that doesn't end his contributions. He still does a few more things during the arc, but having his own fight, that was his fight. And it looks like Byakko's dead, but and one thing a lot of you can notice about Kuwabara if you actually like look at his fights, Kuwabara, despite his wins, he does have wins, doesn't kill like any major enemy. Like, a lot of the team, when they win their fights, they end up killing somebody. I think the only time Hiei didn't really kill anyone was Bui, but that's because Bui asked him to do it, and Hiei was like, nah, you can kill yourself if you feel like it. So, other than that, Hiei just destroys whoever he fights. But Kuwabara will beat them, but they'll manage to like live. Whether it's like Kuwabara's decision to let them live, like with Seaman, he could have killed him, but he let him live. Or if they just manage to survive, like with Byakko or with Elder Toguro. But next week we'll be doing the Seiryu to Blue Dragon fight and talking more about Hiei's character, because this is the first time we'll actually get a lot more insight into who Hiei is as a person. And the main reason for that is Togashi originally planned for Hiei to only be a villain for that one episode, that one little arc with the 3 dark items where you had the darkness sword. When Yusuke beat him at that point, that was it. We weren't supposed to see Hiei again, but due to his popularity, he stayed in the series. So it's kind of crazy that by chance, just due to the fact that fans liked that character so much, that Togashi was like, alright, I guess we can still use him, and he ends up being probably one of the most popular characters in the show, and has a great character arc. Hiei, I would say, is my least favorite of the 4, because at the end of the day, you have to have a least favorite. It's 4 people. But Hiei's character arc, from going from like this villain to actually being like a decent person, is very, very good, especially when you get more of his backstory later on. But that's next week. So the last thing we're going to talk about is keep your hands off Eizouken, finally. It's been like 3 months since I said I was going to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it. So when I first heard about Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, I hadn't seen a trailer for it or anything yet. I just saw someone in a group on anime group on Facebook like bring it up, saw some screenshots and things like that. So I didn't exactly know what it was about. I didn't know what genre it was, but the title kind of just caught my interest. I was just like, okay, what is this? Ooh, excuse me. So one night I was on Crunchyroll. I was like, you know what? Let me check this motherfucker out, because might as well. It's late. I'm not doing nothing. And I read the little, you know, synopsis, the description of it. And what really caught my attention was the fact that it was essentially an anime about a group of kids wanting to make an anime. So I was like, okay. And I don't think I was like really prepared for how well done this series portrays the idea of imagination and creativity when it comes to telling stories and making animation. So the basic plot is the main characters, one of them, our main character, is Midori Asukasa. Asuka. Excuse me for my awful Japanese pronunciation. But she's attending a high school. She's first year there. And from the first episode we see when she was a younger girl, when she was little, she's always been creative, and she always seems to take inspiration from things she sees in real life. So she'll see like a building or something like that, people doing construction, an elevator, things of that nature, and get inspired to create a full-on world purely just based off that stuff. And I think a lot of people, like, I think all kids can definitely relate to seeing stuff when you're younger and your imagination just running wild with it. But especially people who are creative and like tell stories and write, you probably still have that happen to you. I still have stuff like that happen to me every now and then, more than every now and then. But it was really cool the way they did it, because she goes into her room, she starts drawing, and you can immediately see like, oh, all that stuff she saw when they were like driving into where they were moving to. She just made this whole world based off it. She had this book full of all these drawings of all these different worlds, and the fact that you get to see the moment she's like really starting to fall in love with like anime and animation, and just how worlds are set up and built, and all these crazy creative ideas, these things people invent for their worlds, for their stories. You can see like that light in her eyes, and you're just like, dude, that's it. Yeah, like that's it. So she's kind of very like I guess spazzy is kind of the word. She's very out there, creative. She can get a little wild and eccentric, excited and stuff like that when it comes to getting inspired and getting an idea for a setting in her head. She's all about the aesthetic. She's all about the setting, how the world in the anime looks. That's what's really gonna make that anime for her, is that setting. So she has all these sketches in this book of just various worlds and ideas and things that would fit in that world, like machines and people, all that kind of stuff. Just pages and pages and pages of it. The one thing is, she's extremely shy, so she wants to make anime, but she can't do it on her own, and she's too shy to very much talk to others. So she's kind of stays in her own world, draws, and acts to herself, and observes. She observes a lot. So then we are introduced, the second character in the trio we're introduced to is, Sayaka Kanamori. Kanamori is definitely my favorite character. I feel like she's a lot of people's favorite characters. And it's weird because when it comes to anime and animation and like making stories and just getting inspired to do stuff, I would compare myself more to Asuka. But when it comes to just personality, especially me now, I'm more about money. I need to get money. especially nowadays, shit. Kanamori embodies that. She's not like super big on anime or animation. But she takes a strange interest in Asuka. I'm just gonna learn Midori. I keep fucking up names. But Kanamori, she's very she's always in the mindset of, what can I do in this situation to get some money out of it? Not like, I wouldn't say hustle. She always offers like a service. She's always offering like a fair exchange. She's like, I'll do this for this much money. We could do this, and you give me this much money, you get this in return. She's very business oriented in her mind, because boom, any opportunity to make some money is time well spent. So that's kind of her character. It's funny, like, I like the way the characters are drawn. They're very like expressive. The art style is kind of cartoony and out there, and the way it shifts when they do certain scenes is really cool, and it's very fluid. But Kanamori is really like tall, and she has like these long legs, and she just has like kind of like this more serious look on her face most of the time, and then she has like this really like sly, like I don't even want to say sly, just like this grin on her face whenever she's about to make some profit. And it's just really cool. Like they're fun characters. But Kanamori and Midori hang out a lot of the time, and you know, Kanamori and them just talk, hang out. And then in this first episode, they're introduced to the third character of their trio, Mizusaki. Mizusaki is the daughter of two famous actors, so they expect her to also grow up to be an actor. She's currently an amateur model, so she's already pretty famous. Like, she has ads everywhere, so people know who she is. And her whole character is, she really has more dreams of being an animator than like a model or an actress. But her parents have made sure to ban her from joining the anime club or the animation club, stuff like that. So she pretty much can't do that, even though she wants to make anime. And through a series of little wacky events, Kanamori and Midori end up helping her out, get away from her bodyguards. They start hanging out, and the topic of animation and anime come up, where Kanamori eventually shows Mizusaki Midori's sketchbook of all her worlds and stuff like that, and Mizusaki starts being like, oh, we could do this and this, and they immediately go off into this other world. And the thing I really like about this anime is when they start getting creative and thinking of ideas about a world and characters, it's not just like talking about it with a few picture examples. It's like they fully get into it. When they're talking about this world, the animation shifts to whatever art style that world is, and it's all like this cool little, they look like great little drawings, and they're in that world. They're like inserted into it as they're talking about what they're doing, like, oh, this could be used for this, and then it's happening, and you can visualize it and see it. And that happens throughout the series, so I love that, how like they bring the creativity to life in the story. They take advantage of the fact that, you know, this is an anime / manga series, so you could do that fluidly and seamlessly. It's really cool. And even Kanamori's in the scene. She's, you know, watching along. She's like, oh. So they decide to make a club together. They can't exactly join an anime club, so they make their own club called the Eizouken. I believe Eizouken means film club. The thing is, it's just like, oh, you're going to do animation, but we already have an animation club. Why would we need another club that made anime? And it's like, well, films, and you don't consider like anime films, like, you know, movies. Kanamori is also a very like sly talker. So when they form the club, Midori is kind of like the head director. She does all the settings, writes the stories to whatever animes they're going to write. Mizusaki is the animator. She animates all the scenes, does all the drawings, all the frames. She's good with realistic character movement and motion in animation. She grew up like being super into that. And Kanamori is essentially their producer. She's the one that makes sure they have a budget. She's the one that makes sure they're on budget and on task. She does all the negotiations. Anything involving the money, that's what Kanamori is for. So they do their club, and they're allowed this little shacky kind of place, this old little shack behind, that they're eventually slowly going to have to remodel, get some funding from the student council. And the cool part about this show is it's not just like kind of wacky and cartoonish when they're just, it's not only that when they're just imagining a scene or a setting for something they want to animate. That's just how the show is. Like, that's how all the characters are. They're very like over the top to an extent, and it just flows really well into the animations and the stories they make. Like, the student council is like super serious when they do the episode where all these clubs are trying to get funding. It's just like, it's like they're talking to like a fucking government agency, and then you have like the security club kind of just like you know how they're just supposed to be like students, like kind of like hall monitor kind of style things. These dudes come in and like geared like police riot gear to calm down situations. And it's always fucking great to see. Like, there's an episode where they just bust through windows and they're just like, put your hands up. And it's just natural for the school. There's also some black representation in Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. One of the members of student council, let me see if I can find her name. I believe it's Sakaki, the student council secretary. Let me Google if I am correct. but she's awesome. I love her character. she's so cool, calm, and collected, and it's funny because you would think that she's the president, but she's not. Yeah, it's Sakaki. She's the secretary, and she seems like she would be more of the president than the actual president. The president seems a little more wild and easier to be agitated, but she's always like calm. But I think that's because she's like, the secretary. She handles a lot of the business. So she's always just like, okay, well, what exactly are you using this for? And like the back and forths her and Kanamori have on certain episodes, it's like pro level negotiations from these like little first year high school students. And I love how seriously they take their jobs because it's so out there, but it just fits into that world. And then the third set of animations you can see are when they actually finish an animated project. The first season of Eizouken, I believe, is only 12 episodes. There's only one season out. More than likely, we'll be getting a season 2. I pray we do. I don't see why they wouldn't. The show was a fucking hit. I loved it. It's like 12, 13 episodes for the first season, though, so it's not a long watch. And the club itself does 3 films. 3 fully, like, animated, like, short films that they display and show off from their ideas. And the cool part about these are, it's not just like, oh yeah, they made this film, and sometimes, like, when it's airing wherever, you, like, will see it in the background as scenes are still going on. No, when they finish a film, like a little animated film, the show shows you it. Like, you watch the short film. And it's, like, fully animated in, like, this kind of different art style to show that this is what they made, this is how they animated it. And they're always so vividly cool to see. It's, like, a very amazing spectacle. It's not something that was just like, yeah, just throw it together and put it on the show and make it seem like it's epic. They're always really cool. Like, the first one they do is, pretty much the story is, it's kind of set in, like, this weird, like, desert punky kind of, like, post-apocalyptic, like, kind of world. And there's just this one girl there, like, a school uniform. She has, like, a gas mask and a sword, and she's fighting a tank, like a whole-ass tank, and it's just her. And the animation for it looks so... It's something that you could watch. Like, you would find it on the internet and be like, yo, this is fucking cool. And I'm sure you can find the short films. Like, somebody probably posted them on YouTube. But, I wasn't trying to... No, Google, I'm not trying to do all that. But if you want to watch the show, it is on not Hulu. Crunchyroll. It's on Crunchyroll. So if you have Crunchyroll, I definitely suggest it. Let me see if the short films are on what's it called? YouTube. I was like, I was at a fucking blank. But they're really good. Anime screening, movie magic. What is that beeping in the background? I'm sure you can scroll through. Yeah, I think people like uploaded the clips. You just gotta find them. But I'm seeing like a couple posts with the Tank Girl one. That one was awesome. I love that one. That one was really cool. That's probably like my favorite of the 3. The other 2 are great too. Like the second one is like a giant robot fighting like this big ass sea monster, and the setting is based around like the school and where they live and stuff like that. And they did it for a film festival to help promote the Robot Club. They hired them to do it. And then the last film is like for like a film festival or something like that. It's a great show, and the way the characters develop is reflected upon the films they create and the ideas they use to create those films. And just the teamwork the trio has. They have great chemistry. Like, you'll have Midori and Mizusaki, like, goofing off and going off on tangents into their own little worlds about creating an anime. Especially Midori. She does it constantly. And Kanamori has to be, like, that voice of reason to wheel them back in and make sure, like, hey, get back to work. Like, we got shit to do. We got a deadline. We don't have time to waste, because we'll be wasting money, essentially. And Kanamori's not about that at all. And it's... What would I label it? It's not... I guess it's like slice of life-ish, but it's not really slice of life, because this plot is solely based around this team making this club where they just want to create anime. And if you're into slice of life, I'm sure you'll like it. But if you're like mainly into shonen, you might not enjoy it as much. But if you're into shonen, but also like really into like animation and looking into like animators for like fight scenes and stuff like that, you might be into the show too, because the animations for the films they create are really fluid and they're really cool looking. And it's just interesting to see like how much work went into making this show layered how it is. It, like I said, it has the layers. It has, you know, them actually in the show going to school, being characters, and that animation's really nice. And then you have that layer of them like thinking of an idea and it being visually shown to the viewer, and then the actual films being shown. And even though these three different layers have different kind of like animation and art styles, they fit together so well because they're so cartoony, they're so fluid in motion. They're meant to be kind of loose to give you that feel of like, yeah, this is what it's like to animate. And if you're super into learning about animation and just looking at the work that goes into it, they have little aspects of that too, where you can learn a few things you might have not known before. I sure didn't, because I'm not an animator, I'm not an artist, I'm a writer. But I like, the thing I take in the most is the idea that you can take inspiration and create a story and a world out of anything. It's your only limit is what you can think of, and that's what I like about it, especially with Midori. She's endlessly creative, and sometimes that can prove to be her downfall. Like during before the last film, she hadn't written a story for the film they were making. They had an idea for the film and everything planned out, but she didn't have like a plot made for it. Like, why is this happening? What is this about? It had to have a story at its core. So she can't really think of one, but they keep constantly running into things that give her inspiration for a new idea. She's like, oh my god, and we could do this and this and this. Her brain can't turn off that creative factor, so she gets cluttered with a lot of ideas. And I feel like that too. I always get like a new idea for a story in my head, and then I have a bunch of those, and I'm just like, fuck, what do I even do? Especially like with Another Random Tale, I'm still working on that, you know, in the background, slowly but surely. Pandemic really slowed that shit down, because I haven't been able to meet up with the team or anything like that. But I'm still working on it, of course. But I have tons of other ideas that I would love to work on, maybe to a smaller scale. And one thing that I like to do that I found helps, if it's possible, I don't try to force it, but it's something that during the last short film they're making in Eizouken that Midori ends up doing, is ideas that I'll have. If there's too many, I kind of try to take like smaller ideas or like aspects of those smaller ideas that they can't be fully fleshed out, and add it to Another Random Tale. Like, could I add this aspect to Another Random Tale? If I can, where could I fit it? How would it mesh in right? Would it be too much work to do? Would I have to force it? Stuff like that, just so I don't have to lose those ideas or put them on the back burner. They can just be used for the main project I'm working on. And Midori kind of does that with all these ideas. She kind of collects them and adds it into this last film, and it all just meshes really well, and it's really cool. And she manages to get a story. And the way the season ends is really beautiful, because they're just keeping on. They're gonna keep on chugging and doing what they do best, and that's why I want a season 2, because I want more of this. The 3 films were awesome, but I need more of these. I need more. I need to see more of their stories. It's a manga series too, but the manga only has about 5 volumes, and as of January 20th, I looked it up, and Wikipedia says it has 5 volumes as of. Not January 20th, as of January 2020. So maybe the next volume is going to come out, or it already has come out, and that wiki just isn't updated. But it's a great series, as you could tell me being excited about it. And definitely my favorite of the year. Like I said, if you're into like slice of life, if you're into learning about animation, or you already understand it and are an animator, in fact, this is definitely a story you would be into and a series you'd be into. You can take an aspect from it. If you're not necessarily super into the actual plot or the characters, at least you can see the animation and see the work they put in to do certain things in the show. That's really unique and really cool, and it's refreshing. Like, this is an idea for an anime that we haven't really seen before, and it's a manga first, but you get what I mean in the scope of anime. It's really refreshing because, you know, people always talk about people only watch mainstream shonen and stuff. Look, dude, I'm a big shonen fanboy. That is my favorite genre of anime. I will never lie about that because I can't. That's what got me into anime. But I am so open to any other genre as long as it catches my interest. It doesn't matter what genre it really is. So this is definitely one of them. And like I said, thus far, this is my, hands down, my favorite anime this year. It's only May, so we'll see what happens. But also, a lot of animes are getting postponed and delayed due to the whole COVID outbreak. So it might end up being my favorite anime still by the end of the year, just because there's other shows that haven't come back yet. But I am trying to take advantage of the pandemic by rewatching either older shows I haven't watched in a really long time, like Code Geass. Code Geass came out in 2006. Did you guys know that? I was shocked. I was just like, dude, we're fucking old. Like, I'm 26, dude. Code Geass came out when I was in the 6th grade. like, no, I'm so old. How did this happen? Like, fuck. It does not feel that long ago. I haven't watched it in like 10 years. I believe the last time I watched Code Geass was 2010. But I was like, fuck, it came out in 2006? And then I'm just thinking, like, well, then again, I watch Yu Yu Hakusho a lot as we've been doing the retrospectives. That came out in America in 2002. And then it came out in Japan in 1992. It came out in Japan October of 92. And then we didn't get it until February of 02. So it's just like, fuck, dude. We got that almost 10 years later. So, I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho is old, and I still watch it all. It's 2020. It's almost, what, 30 years old? Is that 30 years? Am I being stupid? 20, yeah, no, almost 30 years. 2022. Fuck, dude. Fuck. Damn, that just clicked in my head. Oh my god. We are about to approach 30 years since Yu Yu Hakusho's release. Maybe on that 30-year anniversary, they'll make a good Yu Yu Hakusho game. I don't know. I'm just saying. Arc, you could do it. Don't let CC2 make a Yu Yu Hakusho game. Please don't do it. But that was pretty much it for Eizouken. I just wanted to give my overall thoughts and opinions in a more fleshed out manner. I think I talked about it like this a few months back, but it was very briefly. It was like maybe like 10-15 minutes of it. So I wanted to just not get super in-depth, but just discuss it, its overall basic plot, what I thought of the animation style, the characters, the way it feels and moves and works. And it just kind of like lights a fire in your soul. If you're a creative, it's just like one of those things where it's just like, fuck, dude. Yeah, if you have a dream, go ahead and do that shit. Chase it, because look what they did. At the start of the show, Midori wanted to make anime, but was too shy to really talk to anyone. And by the end of the first season, they've made 3 films, and their club is getting stronger and stronger each time. So it's just like, you just got to do it. You just got to do it. You just need a Kanamori in your life to help you make that bread. Or maybe you're a Kanamori trying to make some bread, in which I would suggest get you some animator friends and get to grinding. But that's all I want to talk about for that series. What am I talking about next week? I do not know, honestly, because I had only planned ahead for like these 3 weeks, just because I wanted to get out of the way. Season 2 of the podcast is going to be ending at episode 54. I think every 27 episodes, we'll just call it like a season. Because the first 27 I said was season 1. Those were kind of like the olden days. Me back before I had better equipment. Even at the start of season 2, I didn't have the computer or the mic yet. So, few updates before we wrap up then, since I only got like an hour and 9 minutes recorded. I usually have a little longer on the podcast, but I guess, since we have some time, I'll just do a few little updates of what I want to do. First of all, like I said again, thank you regardless of where you're listening, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or just plain old Podbean, where I normally upload. Thank you guys for listening. I don't have a huge audience, but it's steadily growing, so I appreciate it. And one thing that happened earlier today, YouTube is probably where I get maybe the least amount of attention. Technically, Apple Podcasts, just because Apple Podcasts is so new that I don't really have any hits on it yet. But I did get a few comments recently, and there's a set of comments from a few days ago from some person on YouTube who was just talking about, it was like a really old episode of the podcast. It was like episode 7. Back when I was going to do my Yu Yu Hakusho analyses, like a whole podcast episode would be about half of an arc, and then the next one would be about the other half of the arc. And then I was like, no, because I tend to ramble and talk too much, so we'll do a retrospective weekly, which is what I started doing when we started season 2 of the podcast. But there's a bunch of comments on that one from the same person, just kind of going in depth in paragraphs about in-depth stuff, and I was like, I feel like that's stuff I talked about in that episode. I could be wrong, but it was a little weird, but cool. Thank you for being so passionate about the series. I'm glad we have that, because lately I've been a little aside. I've been feeling weird about modern Yu Yu Hakusho fans, because I feel like a lot of modern Yu Yu Hakusho fans have been, either the modern fans or the people who are fans but haven't watched it in a really long time, get the wrong impressions on certain character arcs and certain characters in general. Like, I saw someone say in a Yu Yu Hakusho group, I'm a part of a Yu Yu Hakusho group on Facebook, I saw someone say that Sakio dying was stupid. He was like, imagine having all of that money and then killing yourself. And I was kind of like, in my head, well, first off, there's plenty of people in the world who have a lot of money and still are depressed and end up killing themselves. That's besides the point. That was just, in my opinion, just a stupid thing to say, because money doesn't equal happiness. It might for some people, because then they can get some things they need to get to that happiness, but money itself does not equal happiness. Secondly, it sounds like you either haven't watched Yu Yu Hakusho in a long time, or you completely overlooked the point of Sakio's character arc. If you guys don't remember who Sakio is, he was the businessman in the Black Club. We first see him in the same arc where we meet the Toguro brothers when they go to rescue Yukina. And what's his name, Torugane or something like that, calls up the Black Club, and Sakio is one of them, and Sakio hustles the shit out of the homeboy for like a shit ton of money. That's when we're first introduced to Sakio, but we get a little more insight on him during the Dark Tournament. We learn that Sakio, came up from the bottom, made a lot of money gambling, but Sakio isn't happy just for having a lot of money. Sakio likes taking risk. He likes making bets. He likes living on the edge and risking it all. He likes the rush because that's the only way he says he can feel alive. He's crazy. Sakio is a bad guy, but that was his character arc. And, they had the whole little kind of like romance-esque thing with him and Shizuru. But if you recall, Sakio reveals that, yeah, I like living my life on the edge. I like, what's the fun in having all this money and winning and doing it? What's the fun in life if there's not the risk of like a downside, essentially? So Sakio's crazy. He likes living on the edge. He likes being wild like that. So during the Dark Tournament, before the fight with Yusuke and Toguro, Sakio bets his life that Toguro will beat Yusuke. So in return, Koema bets his life on Yusuke. So whoever loses the bet, whoever loses the bet dies. So that's how much Sakio was willing to bet on Toguro, because he was sure Toguro was probably going to win, but he was also in it for the thrill. And when Toguro loses, Sakio is truly a man of his word. Sakio is like, no, I lost that bet. even though Koemo's like, dude, I'm not, you don't need to die. And Sakio was like, nope, fuck that. A bet is a bet. And so when he destroys the stadium, as you recall in the Dark Tournament, he goes down with the stadium. He chooses to die in that stadium because that was the bet. So Sakio didn't have a bunch of money and then just kill himself. Sakio lived his life on the edge until the very fucking end. And that was Sakio's character arc. He was no longer needed in the story at that point. He lost. And Sakio is a villain, but you have to respect the fact that Sakio always lived by his word. Sakio did not lie to himself or to others when it came down to stuff like that. It was just like, it seems like you're completely missing the point of Sakio. He wasn't like a rich guy that just was like, I'm gonna die now. Like, and then I saw another post saying, it was talking about Keiko and Yusuke's relationship, and I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about that, but overall I think it's a strong relationship and they grow a really deep bond, and there's a lot of aspects of it, especially since they're like childhood friends. You gotta remember that too. But somebody pretty much said, well, throughout the series you see Keiko showing like these signs of affection and love. Yusuke doesn't seem to return those feelings. He seems really selfish. And I was like, boy, hold up, before I have to roast your ass. And I feel really petty about doing it, but it's just like, that's such a weak analysis of the story. And maybe I'm just being like too much because I've been doing these retrospectives and rewatching Yu Yu Hakusho, and you know, Yu Yu Hakusho is my favorite series, so I'm really passionate about it. But that was just straight out false. Yusuke never showed any signs of affection for Keiko. First off, they're childhood friends. She's the only person that actually gets near Yusuke, and Yusuke doesn't try to bat her off. When Yusuke died and Keiko goes to his wake, she's just like, fuck, wow, Keiko's really like hurt. And you can say like, okay, well, other people were hurt too and that all moved him. True, but during the arc where Yusuke goes to get his life back, the ordeal, and they're just, you know, waiting for the energy to charge up in that egg so he can get his soul back in his body, somebody sets Yusuke's house on fire. Keiko tries to get his body out, and she's not gonna make it. They tell Yusuke the only way to save her is if he throws his spirit beast egg into the fire. The energy will be enough to help her escape, but he won't be able to use it to get his life back. And Yusuke yeets that motherfucker in the fire to save Keiko's life because he said, what is the point of me living if Keiko has to die? So first off, from the start, from like, it was like episode 5? Maybe episode 4? Yusuke was willing to give up his chance to be revived just so Keiko could live. And through that act, Yusuke still granted his life back anyway. So it was a win-win. But he was like, yep, nope, I'm gonna do that shit. Secondly, Hiei kidnaps Keiko, knowing that Yusuke would fall for it and do anything to save her, including bringing the other weapons, the Orb of Boss and the Forlorn Hope, to Hiei, leading to the Hiei v Yusuke fight in that arc, to save Keiko. But Yusuke doesn't care about Keiko. Currently on the Four Saint Beast arc, when Yusuke goes to fight Suzaku, there's a big ass monitor in Suzaku's like main little throne top of the castle room where it's being broadcasted. Yusuke and Botan and Keiko running from all the zombified insect possessed people, because Suzaku knows that Yusuke cares about Keiko, so he's deliberately having these things attack Keiko. So now Yusuke feels even more like, fuck, I have to hurry up and finish this to save Keiko. And he was again willing to give his life for Keiko. Like, he was gonna give up. He used his life energy for his final attack, and he was willing to die, fully expecting to die, in order for her to be saved. And if it wasn't for our boy Kuwabara giving part of his life force to Yusuke, he might have not pulled through. So shout out to Kuwabara again, but shameless plug, I had to do it for my boy. But also, again, that's like the third or fourth time Yusuke has shown that he deeply cares about her. Not to mention that at the start of Yusuke versus Toguro in the Dark Tournament Finals, they're fighting, and Toguro goes for an attack, and it looks like Yusuke would be able to dodge or counter it, but instead he stands there ready to block and take the hit, and Toguro should stop short. And that's because Toguro's like, oh, I know why he's doing that. You judging me as a monster. And in the background behind Yusuke, you can see Keiko, Shizuru, Botan, Yukina, all standing in the audience. Yusuke knew if he tried to dodge that attack, that the shockwave of that attack might go into the stands and hurt them. So he was ready to block that blow to save Keiko's life again. Numerous times we see Yusuke willing to give his life for this girl, but he doesn't care about Keiko? Oh, okay, nigga. I'm just saying. I went off on such a deep tangent, but I'm tired of that shit, of people saying stuff when you can clearly reference back to the show and prove that it's false. Yusuke cared for Keiko an extreme amount. There is an extreme amount of symbolism, especially in the Yusuke versus Toguro fight, that showed how deep of a bond their relationship had. So, fuck out of here with that old bullshit. And the end of the show, also that, just saying, just throwing that out there. But, anywho, I fucking hate that shit. Please just, if you're gonna comment about the show, please just be up to date on your knowledge of the show. Unless you actually have a question. That's different. But when you're making statements like that, you gotta brush up on your shit, boy. But, dude, what was I talking about? Oh, this YouTube comment. I went off on that tangent, that side conversation. But, I got a comment this morning on episode 42 of the podcast, which was the double feature intro to the Maze Castle arc, where they first get to Maze Castle and then Kurama versus Genbu. And the YouTube comments, I don't pay attention too much to, just because first of all, I rarely get YouTube comments. I rarely get any comments. So if you're watching this and you've watched it long enough, comment, give me some feedback. I love feedback, as long as it's, constructive criticism. Don't comment, your shit is garbage. Like, that doesn't help me improve. Or, and I'm not necessarily looking for like, oh, it's great job. Like, that's nice, but if you really think I can improve somehow, please state it, just like this. So normally I get comments, it's very few and far between, just, random shit, just related mainly to the topic I'm talking about, rather than just me. Or they're spam comments. They're definitely like bots, or like those YouTube scam accounts trying to make friends with me so they can get my little small account that I can do nothing to ever recover, because YouTube's not going to give a fuck about my YouTube account with 8 subscribers. And they're going to use it to peddle out Fortnite hacks, get free V-Bucks, shit like that. I have to block and delete those. But I got a comment today on episode 42. And this is probably like my favorite comment I've ever gotten on YouTube, because he actually gave me some feedback and some good criticism on what I can do to improve, at least with my YouTube uploads and some other stuff like that. So I appreciated it a lot. So he said, normally I don't all too much like the summary style of reviews, but if you got some great commentary, you put in there. Let me restart that. I normally don't all too much like the summary style of reviews, but you've got some great commentary you put in there and point out the little things I've long forgot. Love your style. Yusuke uses the shotgun to defend against Sniper, by the way. Back when I was saying Yusuke used the shotgun only in season 1 and then never again, he is in fact right. As soon as I read that, I was like, he does use it against Sniper. I do clearly remember that. I just brain farted and forgot at the time. Fully correct on that. That was like the one other time, but he does indeed use it. He does use the shotgun again. All I can recommend is some timestamps for the start and end of the retrospective and stuff like that. Okay, cool, fair enough. I respect that. And I do need to add timestamps. It's just because YouTube auto uploads, so I'll just have to go in and manually add in some timestamps and stuff like that. And a version without the background music in case someone has another preference. Also fair enough. So thank you for that comment, by the way. The person was called Dallas the Manipulator. That was their YouTube channel name. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that, and I am going to take that stuff into consideration. But one thing I was going to say is I ordered a computer hard drive because I needed some more storage for my computer. And I also ordered like a little stand for it, like a little table stand, so I don't have to always set up on like a table somewhere in my house. I can just set that up instead. That way I can sit wherever and be a little more comfortable, have a little more space to do what I'm doing. And also I ordered a camera for like a little webcam for recording. And whenever I do try to stream again, that'll probably be like well into the future. It might not even be until like 2021, but doubles for that. And I want to start doing like more YouTube oriented content, like shorter stuff, like shorter videos. Two things I have planned for that are a video series where I take topics that I don't think are like long enough to warrant a full podcast or would be too rambly for a full podcast. That way I don't have to have every podcast be super rambly for like a main topic. Or if the topic's just in general too short, or I feel like, it's not going to warrant its own podcast episode. And I can just do that. It would just be my like, opinion on whatever topic, whether it be something about games, anime, manga, movies, music, life, all that shit. Just opinion-based stuff like that. And are they going to be unpopular opinions? They might be. They might be, opinions generally accepted. It's just my thoughts on ABC, whatever. So that's one thing I plan to do. But I also want to maybe do some, like, Yu Yu Hakusho-based shorter videos. Like, maybe like a... I don't want to say character analysis, maybe later down the line, but like just facts about it, just explaining how this technique works, or explaining why this character can do this, or training more like in-depth like details about a character's training or exactly how their abilities work. Like I know a lot of people, like a lot of common people, like people that are like casual to Yu Yu Hakusho, haven't watched Yu Yu Hakusho in a long time, or just only know of Yu Yu Hakusho, think Kuwabara's power forms a sword, but it's so much deeper than that, and the reason why it's not as well known is because Kuwabara's not using his powers to their fullest extent for that creativity, but there are hints of it shown, like when he makes the javelin, this like that, because Kuwabara's ability is that his psychic awareness is so great, he can manipulate his energy into physical weapons and to conjurize items. It's just initially the sword because he held onto Musashi's broken piece of wooden sword, and his instincts naturally formed a weapon based off that. That's why that's his go-to weapon, but that's why he can also change its form and do aspects like making the sword longer, using it as a pole vault, using kind of like a whip kind of construction and things like that. Its ultimate form, its true form, ends up being the Jigen-To, which can cut through dimensions. But I'm sure it could have been any kind of sharp weapon to do that. But Kuwabara's actual power is energy manipulation, essentially. So I could do like videos more in depth on that. Videos talking about Yusuke's spirit gun and its applications, and how it's evolved over the course of the series, starting off like a beam, growing more into a blast, like looking more bullet-like, shit like that. So I'd be down to do shorter videos like that if it ever came down to that. So if anybody would be interested in me doing that, let me know. I'm totally interested and invested in doing something like that. Just because, that's my coffee pot turning off. Don't worry about that. But that's what I plan to do. Music-wise, I want to do more music stuff, but that just depends on how long the pandemic is, because I can't really get together with my friends to do that right now. We gotta social distance. So I don't know when that'll be. It'll happen. It'll just probably take some time. Maybe we'll try to like email some stuff between us if we ever get the time to. And that's pretty much it, what I have planned. Podcast is going to keep going as is. Like I said, I don't know what my main topic will be next week. We'll figure it out when we get there. Maybe if I finish Code Geass by next week's podcast, I'll talk about Code Geass. Because Code Geass is only 50 episodes. Like I said, I'm already at the start of the second season, so I'm a little more than halfway through. So we'll talk about the original series, and then maybe later down the line when I watch the Resurrection films, I'll talk about those too. But we'll see how it goes. If I don't talk about that, I don't know what else I'm going to talk about. Yu Yu Hakusho Retrospective is still going to happen. We're doing episode 18 with Seiryu the Blue Dragon, Seiryu the Blitzed Dragon, after Hiei's done with him. But other than that, that's it for this week. So thank you guys for tuning in. This was a standard episode. We've been having some longer episodes. Last week was almost 3 hours, and I did not intend for it to be almost that 3 hours. That Bleach Arc tier list, I kind of went off on that for a long time. So I apologize for how long that fucking episode was. I did not intend for it to be that lengthy. But, this was just a standard episode. Little ramble, classic rambles at the end. Stick around. Thank you guys for being here for 44 episodes. Next week, 45 episodes. We're almost gonna hit that big 5-0. That's wild. But anywho, have yourselves a good Friday. Have a good weekend. I will catch you next week with more whatever nerd shit I want to talk about, and I'll catch you later. Bye.